Okay, it's me, Geordie Pete, Reading on Hollywood Balls, and a brand new January edition. My next guest can't wait, because it seems that if you want to be in the press at the moment, all you have to do is mention the words Leeds United. We'll get into that, but welcome back to Hollywood Balls. Just celebrating his 22nd birthday, Tony Dorigo.
Thank you. I think it's 23, but anyway, it's fine. Well, whatever it is good.
Good stuff. Listen, we'll get into the phenomenon that is Leeds United straight away. But how was your Christmas, and what have you been up to?
It was certainly quiet, obviously, with all the COVID regulations. It was just a quiet one at home. For me, the strange thing was normally I'm always at a game on Boxing Day, the 26th, but Leeds didn't play until the 27th this year. And then normally New Year's Day, I'm always at a game. So when you want to celebrate the 25th and my birthday, the 31st, I normally have steady days. Well, I didn't have to this year because, had a day afterwards. So I had a good time. And then look forward to the games on the 27th and the 2nd of January.
And what a day to have a birthday, by the way. Okay, let's get straight into it. Everyone seems to have an opinion on Leeds at the moment, Tony. And I read recently that you were asked about Phillips, your Calvin Phillips, compared to Declan Rice. West Ham fans obviously rate their man higher. Of course, that's football and opinions of the fans. Do you think the England preference, though, of Rice can stem from a London club versus a Northern club sort of issue?
I don't think so. I think initially you have to look at Declan Rice. He's played in the Premier League obviously for longer than Calvin has. Yep. Calvin was always an unknown at that sort of level, so you didn't really know how far he could go. I think when he's played for England, Calvin has done exceptionally well. When you think he's only had a handful of Premier League games, so for me, I see him week in, week out. I've seen him develop. I see him as that holding midfielder, second to none. Now, Declan Rice, I haven't seen as much of him, but when West Ham actually came to Ellen Road, very impressed with Declan Rice. He is absolutely superb, and I wonder certainly later whether he'll be that centre half that just it plays for England for every single game. He's the captain and that real leader of the side. But of course, he can play that role as well. But I just look when they both play together. I just think they're just a little bit too similar, and the balance, it doesn't quite sit right for me. So yeah, I think in that particular role, I love Calvin, simple as that. But Declan, I think, can do. There's a lot more to his game. But what we should be quite thankful about is we have two young players who are destined for great things. So that's important.
And just to add to that, Tony, as well, what I find is great with having Gareth Southgate in charge is, you quite rightly said, obviously. Calvin's only had a few Premier League games compared to Declan, but Gareth's he seems to be, if you're good enough, you're in, doesn't it? Which is refreshing, and it's also great for our burgeoning talent.
It is, and I think it's not so much by design, but I think just the way that the Premier League is at the moment, you have so many foreign players. So anytime you get a young English player that comes in and plays regular, he's bound to be the England mix. That wasn't the case many years ago, but now there's so many foreign players that take up those positions. I think also, if you look at the fact that the so-called golden generation that didn't achieve, I don't think what they should have done, were all aging together. So Gareth was fortunate in a way that he knew the young players coming through. He knew them very well. He knew which ones to trust, and he brought them into the full squad. And that, as a group for young players, they flourished. And I think that's really important as well, because when I joined the England squad, there were the likes of Shilton, Robson, Hoddle, Butcher, and suddenly I'm a 21, 22-year-old, thrust into that. I'm thinking, oh, okay, these are big boys, these are, huge internationals. Yeah. But when suddenly you have a lot of players alongside you in the same boat, it's that much easier. So I think that has helped. But again, I think you're right in that he looks at, blends the ability, I suppose, what at the moment, the form is important, and give him a go. And Calvin is one of those. We saw in the Championship, he was one of the best players, no doubt. And now he's given that opportunity. And I think he hasn't looked out of place. I think that's the best I can say. I thought, he played really, really well. But I do think that just the style to get the best out of Calvin, I'm not sure with Declan Rice that is the right one.
Playing with a bit of style seems to be on the menu. We love our beautiful game, of course, and the beauty of that is, as I said at the top of the show, everyone's got an opinion. What's your message for fellow pundits and media ex-pros alike who call for Leeds to be more pragmatic? It's a word I've heard used a lot in the media for Leeds United currently in their approach. Now, given that I have to suffer what NUFC, my beloved NUFC, serve up every week, I'm all for the style of Leeds United. What's your take on it?
I was just about to say, I'm not being funny, but would you rather watch Newcastle or West Brom, or you watch Leeds United? And that's where I think a lot of people are looking from the outside, don't quite understand how far the club has come. Because I was there, many years ago, even go back to two and a half years ago. I'm looking at a team in the Championship that were 14th. I'm looking at the players thinking, you're not even good enough for the Championship, let alone to get promotion. I'm looking at a team that had no identity. I'm looking at managers that I'm thinking, I don't know what you're trying to do here. All of a sudden, 2.5 years later, we're talking about the style that's taken the Premier League, by storm. And yes, the way that we play, we will concede a few goals. We will make mistakes, but we will also score a heck of a lot of goals. We've scored over 30 goals, something crazy. Yes, we've conceded a load, but I think when you get to play against the teams in and around that middle tier and lower tier, I think our style, when we get it right, is scintillating. And you saw that. We beat Newcastle 5-2. We beat West Brom away 5-0. It's not 1-0 grinding out results. And the style has been tremendous. And even when we go down to Old Trafford and we lose 6-2, or Tottenham, we keep going and we still look good. And what's weird is we get pundits saying, we really enjoy the style, which is not good for Leeds United fans and players. We normally are hated. We're getting all this adulation, and it feels very, very strange. But I think what I would say is that you just got to remember where we've come from and how much better these individual players and team has become. And it's a risk and reward strategy. Marcelo Bielsa, believes in it completely, and the players have bought into it. And you know what? I would much rather watch this type of football. Is it completely winning football? You know what? I think it is, but what you have to do is cut out the mistakes, be better from set pieces. Now, set pieces, this is the big gripe with me as well. These pundits say these things, but set pieces, we have conceded so many goals from set pieces. We're not the best at defending or attacking from set pieces. What's that got to do with the style of play? It's a set piece. Everyone is stationary. Everyone just picks up their man. It's nothing to do with that. So we have things to improve on that have nothing to do, with our style of play. So, I think it's easy to jump on that bandwagon, but look at the opposite side of it and think, wow, the way that we play, we go forward at times where other teams don't. We get our reward as well, and we score goals, and long may that continue. And I think Leeds fans, 99.9% of them understand that, and they're loving them. It is great to watch.
And I think as well, what's important, which some of our fellow pundits haven't really picked up on, you say about the energy of them, but they've got that energy because they're super fit and they keep going. They go for 90 minutes. I mean, you mentioned Newcastle there. I mean, at some point in that game, Leeds scored 4 in about 16 minutes, and against Manchester United, Newcastle did the same. It was 1-1 with 12 minutes to go. They ended up losing 4-1. So, energy levels that they seem to go for 90 minutes.
They do, and that's where Marcelo Bielsa has got the team so fit. And I don't just mean over a few weeks, I mean the course of years. So since he's come, the players have got fitter and fitter and fitter. And they have to, because of the style that Marcelo wants to play. Now, why are they getting fit? What's the point of being so fit or so strong? There has to be an end product to this. And the reason that Marcelo wants it is because of the closing down. We do a thing called murder ball at Leeds in training. And it's murder ball for a reason. It is ridiculously difficult. And you keep going and going, trying to close down. So as soon as you lose it, you're sprinting to get it back, and you don't stop until you get the ball back. Then the opposition do exactly the same. So it just keeps going and going. Now, he needs to look at his players and think, can you do that for 90 minutes? Some players sign for Leeds United. They go into murder ball. They can't do it for 5 minutes. Forget 90, 5 minutes. So they're just not at the right level of fitness. Jean-Kevin Augustin, the signing from in January, he never got there because he just wasn't fit enough. And by the stage of getting him signed to getting him fit, it was like 2-3 months, and he still didn't manage it. So that's the difference. So it's the way that he wants to play. You have to be that fit. Yes, you have to have the technique. Yes, it's all the style bits, but that fitness level is absolutely vital. And you mentioned it. I thought we ran you guys off Newcastle last 15, 20 minutes, we are pouring forward, 3 and 4 against 2, but we do it against every side. But even if we're like at Manchester United, even we're 6-1 down or 6-2 down, we're still pouring forward, which sometimes I scratch my head. I think, wow, these boys, they don't know any difference. But you know what? It's refreshing. It is.
It's lovely to see, and I know that a lot of Newcastle fans I speak for, when it does remind us of our days of scoring but conceding. So it is very similar. And if we could send a video up to any one of Murder Ball, that would be much appreciated, Tony. Anyway, moving on. January is with us, as we've just mentioned. Heralds the other transfer window merry-go-round. A lot of names being linked, obviously, with Leeds. Jean-Philippe Mateta is one of them. Do you think another forward's a priority, though? With what about midfield?
Yeah, I think there's certainly areas to improve. That there's absolutely no doubt, and I think that's where Leeds are now. In that, it's how much you can improve at the right time. So obviously, financially, it's important and not to overstretch yourself, but at the same time, you want to get value for money. I think one of the best value, well, actually, there's 2 or 3 players we bought, which actually really good value. Rafinha at 17 million looks an absolute player. I'm thinking, wow, this kid is amazing. The talent that he's got, but he's got that hunger as well. And he's the one that in Murder Ball, you think, okay, you can do this naturally, on you go. But we saw with the goal against West Brom, absolutely fantastic. And then Robin Koch, who unfortunately is injured at the moment. He's out for a little while with his knee, but I think 12, 13 million, German international. He's great. But trying to find that value is difficult, and that's what Leeds have to do. So where do we need to improve? I suppose we might be looking possibly at a left back, just another backup left back. Midfield, you're right. And striker, and Marcelo, he loves wingers. He loves these fast men down the side. So no doubt there'll be one of them on the list as well. But you've got to make sure it's the right player, and there's no point just adding a player for the sake of it. But numbers were a little bit short when we get a few injuries. But what Marcelo does, he puts youngsters in, and we've got 2 or 3 very, very good youngsters, and he gives them a go. So I don't envisage a huge amount of business at all in January.
For quite a few clubs as well at Newcastle. I mean, speaking of looking at that Leeds model and the love of wingers, there's a player there who unfortunately isn't playing for Newcastle, and boy, are we missing him. But he would slot in there very nicely. And Alan St-Maximin, he would provide some more attacking flair as to what you've already got as well. I have to say though, the outlook of Victor Orta and what he's doing at Leeds, it's quite phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, the way that his transfers are planned, he's probably got to be the busiest man in Yorkshire at the moment.
Yeah, and to be fair to him, and also a lot of other sporting directors for every club, they have so many people behind them that are researching all the time. The software, the videos, the analysis tools. It's a huge area, which is really fascinating. But yeah, they got to keep their finger on the pulse. Absolutely everywhere. And of course, then you're competing financially. That's another, playing field to try and level up against the big boys, which is difficult. So you put all that together and you think, wow, what's going to draw that player to your club? But also, can we make sure that it's the right sort of player? He has the right fitness levels. And Marcelo Bielsa is key to that, in that he is the big attraction for me, in that if I had a choice of clubs, and I'm thinking, and I'm talking everything's level financially, the whole thing. I'm thinking, you know what? I think Marcelo, the experience of working under him might make me an even better player. The spirit amongst the lads is fantastic. That's what you want to be, involved in. So I think that's the ace in the pack. But at the same time, it has to be the right player at the right price.
It does. Speaking of the right player, I'm really impressed with Bamford, and I've always myself seen a player in there, but it seems like it's finally clicked for him, because there's no doubt that when you see him and the way he takes those finishes with such aplomb, he's a natural finisher, isn't he? So do you think that to build, he's already had a good season and he's continuing to do so, but do you think next season is critical for him as well as a player, just to cement where he is currently?
I think with Bamford, it's an interesting player, because you saw when he was obviously at Forest, he got signed for £1 million, went to Chelsea, and yeah, he was on that merry-go-round of players that sign and never play, and then off he goes out on loan. He's been here, then everywhere. I thought the year that he was at Middlesbrough, it showed the talent that he's got, but he's a different type of striker. So when he does nonchalantly, knock it in the back of the net, you think, wow, this kid, is incredible, and he just goes on and scores 10, 15 goals. Then suddenly he misses a few, but that's like just about every striker. But he's never quite got his opportunity in the Premier League to say, I'm the number 9 and here we go. And Leeds gave him the opportunity for the number 9 shirt. He did okay. Was he great from day one? Not really. He had a lot to add to his game. But Marcelo believed in him, saw something in there and wanted to work with him. And Bamford has listened to everything and he has improved. And I'm delighted for him, because sometimes you get to his age, when you're 26, 27, 28 now, you're not a young man anymore, you're in your prime, and he's been waiting for that opportunity at the big time. And I think he's done tremendous, because some of the stuff I don't think was natural to him when he was young, now is natural. He looks physically strong, hard, working for the team, closing down. It's just incredible. Obviously, Marcelo demands that of every single player, but it starts up top with Bamford, wonderful. Now holds the ball up. And then those runs into the channels now, add the goals into it, he's suddenly looking like an absolute bargain at that 7 million quid or whatever it was. And he's got there, he's enjoying it, he's got the right players around him. But most importantly, he's got a manager that really does believe in him, had it stuck by him for some games where people were calling him to be changed. Nketiah, when he was at the club, get Bamford off, put Nketiah on. But the style, Bamford makes others around him better as well, and that is really important. So I'm delighted for him. He's a really good, lovely, sensible lad as well. He knows, you're probably never as good as the guy saying the paper, or never as bad as the guy saying the paper. He's got that very level mindset, and what you're seeing now is a very good player indeed.
He speaks very well, very sensible, as you say. Okay, can't let you go without touching on a couple of your former clubs. It all started so well at Chelsea for Frank and the team. Everyone was excited to see the new imports, especially the goal scorer. It hasn't really worked out very well, and pressure's laid back on Frank. What do you think the problem is at Chelsea?
I think it's really interesting in that Chelsea this season are a different beast. And why is that? 220 million quid spent. That's why.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Money and expectations are now huge, and that's what you have to live with at a big club. So Frank had a great introduction, because he had to use some young players, couldn't spend money when the transfer ban was on, and those young players were very talented as well, and he knew one or two of them anyway. So you put all that together, and I thought he exceeded what I thought Chelsea could do. So he did fantastically well. Suddenly the checkbook opens and things become different. It's no doubt. When I saw Timo Werner, I thought, yeah, heck of a signing. I thought it was value as well. I know it's 49 million, whatever it is, but I thought, wow, that's a great signing. And Havertz, I always thought he would take longer, but wow, that kid has got some talent. That there's no doubt. But have they hit the ground running? No. Have we seen flashes of them, of what they could do? Yeah. But when you've got two players like that, it's a Premier League. It's a difficult place. And I thought when they played against Leeds, I was there at Stamford Bridge. I covered that game. First half, they were good. Second half, they were excellent. I mean, they just, that was the first time this season Leeds for 45 minutes struggled. Because I thought Chelsea were absolutely superb. So I thought, wow, they're going to be the real deal this year. Yet they haven't kicked on. And then this pressure mounts. And it's a problem. It really is. I really hope that he is obviously given more time and allowed to get those players back working, because I think Thiago Silva at the back is a masterstroke. I think he's so important. Chilwell was a great signing, solid, very, very good. But in those attacking positions, it's got to click. Ziyech, I think, has done well, but he's out with a hamstring for a little while. He's back now. But yeah, it's the pressure's on for Frank, and just needs to kind of roll with it and hopefully find some form. The
pressure is on, and as we all know, time is not your friend, whether you're a manager or a new player adapting to a new league. So it's definitely much a watch this space. Finally, got to give a mention to Aston Villa, and I'm delighted, because of the fact that Dean, the gaffer there, people were shouting for his head, and Villa were awful. And literally, he's been given the time, and he's turned Villa around into what are a very, very good side to watch this year.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted as well, because Villa, they're close to my heart. This is my first club.
Yeah,
I'd never forget the first night I played at Villa Park under the lights in front of a crowd. It's dream stuff. I was 18 years of age from Australia, so they gave me my chance. So I've always known it's a tremendous club, great facilities, great stadium. But it's difficult when you get owners in and you spend a lot of money the wrong way. It's not an easy fix, and that's what I think sometimes fans find it difficult to understand. How why can't suddenly next season we be a lot better? Well, when you've got 10 players on 4 or 5 year contracts and you paid them too much money and suddenly their form deserts them, you get relegated. What do? You know, you're in such a financial hole. So it's difficult. And Dean Smith, I think when he took over, it wasn't in the best position. You know, he had a lot of rubbish to sort out. And slowly but surely, he's put his mark on the side. And yeah, absolutely delighted. Clearly, the key is Grealish. You know, keeping him and making him that fulcrum is great. But Douglas Luiz, I think it's been tremendous. But Watkins up top. You've got this core, I think, which is excellent. So Martinez in goal as well. You know, some very, very good players. It's funny, when Leeds went there, Leeds were absolutely fantastic. Second half, we ran them ragged, but you could sense the first 10, 15 minutes, Villa, they played with a swagger. Barkley and Grealish, I thought, wow, there's some talented players here. So I'm delighted that they certainly won't be looking below them. They'll be looking above. Yep. And long may that continue. And you're right, for Dean Smith, you know, they allowed him that time to change things. They understood where the club was. Some owners, you know, might be a bit trigger happy, but they're getting their rewards now, and good luck to them. Yeah, good luck to them, and good luck to all of our teams, and especially yours, Tony. It's a big weekend of FA Cup football, and I know that it's traditional again with Leeds, and you know, if you look at Leeds and the way they play, it could favour them, the style that Bielsa's got there. So we wish Leeds United all the best in the cup. I know that because I've been bombarded this week when we knew we were focusing on Leeds United. Tony from Hong Kong has been on, Tony Hazelwood. Come on, get Leeds on the show. Also the Dubai Whites as well. Their supporters club here, which is massive. They've been on at me as well to get some Leeds flavour into my programme. So we have delivered. So it's over to Leeds United now to deliver. So Tony, once again, thanks for being an awesome guest on Hollywood Balls, and we'll speak to you really soon. You are more than welcome. Loved it. See you again.